So hi, welcome to End Critter Reviews, and this is Tyler from End Critter Reviews.
And Stephen from Stephen Lawson Studios.
Yes, and we are enjoying Halloween time, and we are going to do an interesting kind of discussion video where we're going to talk about the Universal Monster movies, the future of the Dark Universe, and later we're going to debate on who is the hottest actress of the Universal Monster characters. And then finally we're going to do a trivia thing where I'll be the host and Steven will compete. Yes. So, anyway, before we begin, I should briefly mention about the history of the Universal Monster movies. So it kind of technically began in the 20s. I like to call this the pre-classical era where it started, but didn't really pick up until the 30s. We had horror movies such as Hunchback of Notre Dame and The Phantom of the Opera, both starring Lon Chaney Jr., who was the man of a thousand faces. He did his own makeup, which was incredible. And I know there are a few other horror movies that are not monster films, but I feel like they're worth talking about. Like the Cat and the Canary was a good haunted house movie, and The Man Who Laughs been credited for being the inspirational look for the Joker.
Yep, I was just gonna say that if you didn't.
Yeah, and that's pretty cool too. And that. So of course we had the classical era of the Universal monster movies from the 30s to the 50s with movies such as Dracula, Frankenstein, The Mummy, The Invisible Man, Bride of Frankenstein, The Wolfman, and Creature from the Black Lagoon, and so on. And it was pretty awesome during this time. Have you seen any of these movies, Steven, or any of the silent films that I mentioned earlier?
Yes, I believe I've seen Frankenstein now, and I've seen Nosferatu and the first Dracula.
Well, Nosferatu wasn't Universal, but...
Yeah,
okay.
I get you. It's just in the same vein,
Yeah,
a little
well,
earlier.
Okay. What did you think of Dracula?
I liked it. It was pretty solid overall, and it was Boris Karloff, right?
No, it was Bela Lugosi.
Bela Lugosi. I'm such an idiot. He did a great job in that role. He embodied it so well.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, him and Edward Van Sloan, who was also in that movie, they both played those characters on stage, which was really popular during that time. And it was really awesome, too. I really love his characterization. It was so iconic that many other actors would kind of mimic him until Bram Stoker's Dracula in the 90s, where they try to be more accurate to the book. Yeah, what did you think of Frankenstein?
I like that, too, overall. I mean, I don't have a whole lot to say about it other than, the story was interesting. I liked how it resolved, and I overall had a lot of sympathy for him in the ending. So
Yeah, I felt more sympathetic for him in Bride of Frankenstein.
I got you.
But what's interesting is that the whole part where he said that, talking to his professor or previous mentor by saying that you said that the ultraviolet ray was the highest in the spectrum, but you're wrong. And yeah, scientifically is right, because there was the gamma radiation and, well, cosmic rays and gamma rays. Yeah, I'll cut this part out. But yeah, I mean, Boris Karloff was awesome in that movie, and the makeup by Jack Pierce, who did a lot of the makeup for the Universal Monsters, was awesome.
Absolutely.
Yeah, no, it was pretty much like individual, like every single day. It wasn't like it was a mask on, like mold and such. They had to do it like every time to make it authentic and realistic as possible.
That must have taken hours.
Well, yeah, it did. I think with the original Mummy from the 30s, it took like 6 to 8 hours to put that full mummy makeup on.
Whew.
And then another 2 hours to take it off.
Yeah, it's not surprising that it would take less time overall to take it off, but...
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I highly recommend The Invisible Man, The Wolfman, Bride of Frankenstein, and Creature from the Black Lagoon.
Gotcha. Yeah, I haven't seen, also looking at this list, I have seen the more modern remake of Phantom of the Opera, but not the one from the classical era.
Wait, Gerard Butler?
Yes,
I don't know if that's a Universal monster movie. I think that was Warner Brothers or similar thing.
That's probably accurate. I've seen a version of Phantom of the Opera. I thought I would throw that in. Yeah,
from the 30s, it was like a lot of the classical ones came out. And then by the 40s, there were like a ton of sequels and cinematic universe films, and it kind of faded away because there was too many of them, and also the horrors of war and the Holocaust and the atomic bomb and that became unpopular. And then we had the 50s, which was more science fiction-y, but we got Creature from the Black Lagoon. Alright, so we had the modern era of the Universal monster movies, which you're probably more familiar with, Steven.
Yep.
with there were movies like well, I'll name them out if you've seen them or not, but have you seen the Dracula movie with Frank Langella from the 70s?
I don't believe so. No, I've seen.
I thought it was kind of iffy in that,
Hmm.
but yeah, you've probably seen the movies of the Mummy with Brendan Fraser.
Yep, absolutely. Mummy
Yeah.
and Mummy Returns.
Yeah, I love that Mummy remake with Brendan Fraser is awesome in that.
Mm-hmm.
I can't believe Nostalgia Critic was like hating on the movie, and even the thumbnail with him and his brother when they were watching it, they had this like sourpuss look on their faces, like, you know, we're cucks and we know it.
Yeah, they've been cucking super hard these days. I think I even heard that he went to either the same school we went to or
Oh, NIU?
yeah.
Yeah, Northern.
So hopefully we can at some point, be what they were, R.I.P. But
I want to make a video for explaining why the Nostalgia Critic is wrong on some of his criticisms of the remake of The Mummy.
yeah, he definitely needs to be called out more for some of the wrongs.
The only Mummy movie that deserves hate is that Tomb of the Dragon Emperor movie. I hate it.
Sure. Yeah, no, I'm not saying that the newest one from 2017 was great.
We'll get to that,
either,
but yeah.
yeah, no, it's definitely not in the same league as.
Okay. So, what did you? All right. So, Van Helsing was that big Monster Bash movie, and I think that's such a criminally underrated movie. You probably seen my editorial video on why it's underrated, and I really like that one. It paid tribute to the old Universal monster movies and the different tones about it.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, it's more action adventure-y, but you see that one scene, like the ballroom scene where he saves Princess Anna. It's like, yeah, this is something out of like one of those Indiana Jones movies or those Zorro movies, which we were kind of going for.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. I would say overall of the ones I think you're going to list, there may be an exception, but I think overall in terms of my perspective on it, this was probably overall my favorite because of how it incorporated so many elements. Werewolves, vampires, Van Helsing, Frankenstein.
Well, Frankenstein's monster.
Right, Frankenstein's monster, definitely. But the fact that it incorporated so much, did it so well, had a kick-ass soundtrack.
Yeah,
We've
I love
talked about
that.
this before. We love it, and it is criminally underrated. So
Yeah, definitely. And there's even some stuff I'm picking up on still. Like, for example, the part where we see Mr. Hyde go into the Notre Dame Cathedral. It's kind of like it's kind of like the Hunchback of Notre Dame, and the whole like masquerade ball scene is something out of like that scene from Phantom of the Opera from the 20s where they go to this ball and the Phantom dresses up as like the Red Death.
that's a good point. I hadn't thought about that.
Yeah, it was like a thing I recently did about, and also that one shot I pointed out where it showed the scene in like the opening and the last scene of the movie where it's very similar in shots.
Yep,
Where the-
bookend.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah, which was awesome. And then we had the remake of The Wolfman, which we watched recently, and what did you think of that one, Steven?
I thought it was all right. I mean,
Yeah, me too.
yeah, it didn't strike my fancy too much, but it was fine.
Yeah, we should watch the original sometime, but yeah, I did like parts of it, but I felt like it was kind of a mess with the whole like switch of directors and the writer's strike that was going on during that time.
Yeah, it messed up so many different films. So
Yeah, and then we had Dracula Untold, and I like that movie. I don't love it, but I liked it in a way that was well paced, of kind of a classical story structure to it. Like you have 3 days to do this and that. And I feel like the effects are highly underrated. They're really awesome.
yeah.
And I was surprised they didn't get nominated for best effects.
What movies are in the Dark Universe right now? Because I would overall say that probably is my favorite of the ones that are officially part of the Dark Universe.
Well,
now.
we'll get to that, but
So.
it's right now it's not. So now we're going to talk about the Dark Universe with the remake of The Mummy from this year, a movie that, despite all the criticisms it's been getting, it made over $400 million at the box office.
Right.
I mean, doing some research in that, originally they were going to make a fourth Mummy movie, but I guess if you looked at the boxofficemojo.com stuff, was that the first two Mummy movies, they opened at first place and they maintained first place in their second weekends. However, with The Mummy, Tomb of the Dragon Emperor, I think it opened at second place and then it dropped significantly in the second weekend. Even though it made the same amount of money roughly as the other two, it was the most expensive, so it had the least amount of money intake, and also critics and audiences both really did not like it.
Gotcha. Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay, so with the Mummy remake from this year, that was fine. I liked it a lot more when I first saw it because I was more hyped up to see it because I always love seeing these movies. And during these moments, I can kind of briefly forget the fact that Universal Studios also made 8 Fast and Furious movies.
Oh gosh, yeah, it is a plague upon mankind.
Yeah, kind of like in that opening to the remake of The Mummy, which personally I feel like in that time period, I would say at least the newer Universal monster films, The Mummy remake with Brendan Fraser is my favorite, and Van Helsing is my second favorite.
Yeah, no, I got you. I would probably say I'm either that or just slightly flipped around, but
That's
also
fine.
I'm not.
We both really like those movies.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. All right, so now we're going to discuss about the possible actors and or actresses that will be in these movies or be discussed about. But right now, here's the release date schedule. I know it's kind of out of date because Bride of Frankenstein has been out at least an official release date because they're rewriting the script. So, but it's pretty interesting to me. We're getting another remake of The Wolfman, even though it came out 7 years ago, so it's not even that old of a movie.
Yeah. That could be interesting.
I mean, I'm fine about it because they're trying to do a cinematic universe thing about it. So anyway, we're going to talk about the actors and actresses involved in this movie. So with Russell Crowe as Dr. Jekyll, aka Mr. Hyde, what's interesting is that Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde are not one of the classic Universal monster movies. Although there are a lot of older movies with this character, that wasn't a Universal monster movie. It wasn't until really Van Helsing, technically, that he made his first appearance. But this is more the classical one. But what'd you think of that?
I thought he was decent in his role. Yeah, I mean, in seeing the preview where they kind of gave a sneak peek at his transformation, I thought that was pretty interesting. But I also wanted him to transform more than he did. Like, I don't think he separated enough from not looking like the actor.
Yeah, I think the problem with The Mummy was that I feel like it should have took more notes from Iron Man and Man of Steel because those movies were kind of like their own movies at first, but with some subtle hints.
Definitely.
This one I felt like it kind of made it too obvious. They were trying to do a cinematic universe, which I would argue that Dracula Untold would have been a much better starting off point than the Mummy remake from this year.
Yeah, even in terms of being further away in the timeline, that makes more sense.
And also, Dracula was the first of like the Universal monster movies from the 30s that kind of kick-started it all, so it would have been much more subtle.
Definitely.
So what about Tom Cruise in this movie?
Tom Cruise, I mean, he was fine in the movie. I'm just not nuts about him as an actor overall.
I get you.
He's fine. I would definitely say that of the actors that I heard are on the list, Javier Bardem. Ooh,
We'll get to him.
Yeah,
we'll get to him.
But
yeah. So what are your thoughts on Johnny Depp as the Invisible Man?
I can see that. I'll be interested to see what he does with it.
Yeah, definitely.
I must say I'm not very acquainted with the full story of the Invisible Man from the original version, but
yeah, in the book.
And the book. But he certainly looks like he could. He's built for it, and I think he's proved that he's a good actor. So, especially in these eccentric roles, so it would. I think it's definitely in his area of expertise to do something like this.
Yeah, he definitely should play it more subtle. And the thing about the Invisible Man, when you're casting him, you're not going to see him, you're going to hear him. So it's kind of like casting a voice actor.
Definitely.
So about Sophia Botella as the mummy, I mean, it's not Imhotep, but it's Princess Amenhotep. I feel like she was fine. I did like she was kind of like a mix between the original and the remake from the 90s in a way
Mm-hmm.
meshed together. Remember my joke when I said that? So let me get this straight. We have an ancient woman sucking the life of men to make herself younger again. We're talking about a mummy or Madonna.
Exactly.
Yeah, but she's less hairy, but...
Absolutely.
Yeah, what'd you think of her?
I liked her. I think she was definitely one of the stronger points of the film, and in terms of her special effects with the double irises and stuff going on in her eyes.
Yeah, real four eyes going on.
Seriously. That was super creepy and
trippy.
yeah, well done as an aspect of that film. So
Okay. So let's talk about the other actors. Okay, what are your thoughts on Javier Bardem? Do you think he should play Dr. Frankenstein or the Frankenstein monster?
I think he's built more for Frankenstein's monster.
Definitely.
He just has that look in the face and the body shape. I'm basically his definitive role to me still is Anton from No Country for Old Men. So with that characterization in mind, in terms of his presence, his subtle, I'm drawing a blank on the word, but scariness.
Okay.
He definitely could pull that off very well.
Okay. Yeah, I could definitely see him more as the Frankenstein monster than the monster himself.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I definitely feel like he has the face for the monster.
Yep.
Yeah, so I think a disadvantage compared to Boris Karloff, because, Boris Karloff is more iconic looking.
True.
I think what made it more work is that Boris Karloff was more of an unknown actor. And other actors like Robert De Niro, who played the monster in the past, and why it didn't really work so well was that you already kind of knew Robert De Niro was more of a well-known actor.
Sure.
And I feel like it may work better if they get an unknown actor, but by this point in time, it's too late. to
Yeah,
do that.
I definitely get what you're saying, and that kind of different genre here, but is I think for the both of us, part of the reason I think that Watchmen worked so well was that it was a bunch of just new people right off the bat.
Not as well known, and Jackie Earle Haley as Rorschach was awesome.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So anyway, what about Angelina Jolie as the Bride of Frankenstein?
I can see it. Yeah. I mean, I don't have a whole lot to comment on it, but there's worse choices. I don't know. I feel like if they were going for a dead-on replica in the modern day, you could choose someone a little different, maybe a little younger. But she's still not bad. I mean, she's roughly the figure for it.
Yeah, I get you. I mean, I'm kind of fine with it, I guess. But our next choice here, I'm just really not buying it if they go with it. So what are your thoughts on possibly Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson as the Wolfman?
No, that just doesn't work.
Me neither. I mean, I like Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. He's a good actor. He's likable, but I just feel like he's overused in movies nowadays.
Absolutely. I think he's a good person. I wouldn't even go as far as to say he's a great actor.
Yeah.
I am a big Michael Bay fan, and he's used in quite a few Michael Bay films, but I don't know. He's overused at this point, definitely.
I know, definitely. But one actor I feel like would be a much better choice for the Wolfman, a.k.a. Larry Talbot, or Lawrence Talbot, as called in the remake with Benicio del Toro, would be Bradley Cooper, because of the fact that if you saw him in Silver Linings Playbook, he plays a guy who suffers from bipolar disorder. He's a guy who's really nice, who's trying to do good, but sometimes he lashes out at people and hurts others, kind of similar to Larry Talbot in the original Wolfman.
Mm-hmm.
He's a nice guy, but sometimes he, changes and he becomes a monster. It's out of his control. And also Bradley Cooper is also an A-list actor, and he looks more like the average guy compared to Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, especially when it comes to muscle and that. I mean, when you looked at either of the Wolfmen from the original or the remake, they weren't bodybuilders. They were just average built.
Absolutely. I think, if anything, the only person who should be like super built out of that whole cast is Javier Bardem as Frankenstein, because
Frankenstein's monster.
Yeah, Frankenstein's monster.
Or the monster.
Yes. But he is, I mean, he's always been very tall and a looming presence, very imposing. So someone like The Rock, he's clearly going to be bigger than even Frankenstein, which just doesn't make sense.
Frankenstein's monster.
Yes, no, they get it at this point. But
it's just like people tend to get wrong. It's kind of like in Monster Squad. Is like, is Frankenstein the name of the monster or the guy who created him? The guy.
Right. But yeah, Bradley Cooper, I guess that makes sense. I almost feel like someone just a tad more muscular. Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying nearly the level of Javier Bardem or Dwayne The Rock Johnson, but Bradley Cooper's still a little thin to me compared to...
Well, he can gain muscle.
Sure.
The Wolfman gets probably more strong and muscular as well.
But even in terms of like the jowl and stuff like that, I don't know. It's too pointy for me. I think that someone with
makeup and CG and that.
A stronger jawline would definitely be better. But overall, I get where you're coming from.
Yeah. All right, so how about Scarlett Johansson in Creature from the Black Lagoon as the love interest?
I could see that. That from where I'm standing, looks pretty convincing overall.
Actually, you're sitting, but...
Yeah, true.
Yeah, from where I'm sitting at.
Also, to be completely fair, I just like looking at Scarlett Johansson. But, yeah, I mean...
Yeah, same here, and Julie Adams as well, but...
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's cool. So anyway, so how about Channing Tatum as Van Helsing?
No. I'm sorry. No. That doesn't work.
I think that might be, well, not as bad, but almost as bad as Dwayne The Rock Johnson as the Wolfman. I gotta say, I mean, I want someone who's more rugged and kind of edgy like Hugh Jackman was in the 2004 movie.
Absolutely.
At least in character. I mean, Hugh Jackman's a really nice guy, but Channing Tatum, I don't know if he can really achieve that sort of status of seriousness.
I'll give you the answer. No, he can't. The closest he'll come to that is probably what we saw roughly, to an extent, in the second Kingsman. And while he was fine, he can't be close to what Van Helsing needs to be. And Hugh Jackman was much closer. You need someone more in that vein, that aesthetic.
I thought when you were saying when it came to being like close to Van Helsing, I thought you were about to say the G.I. Joe movies he was in.
Oh, no.
By the way, the guy who directed the first G.I. Joe movie was Stephen Sommers, who also directed Van Helsing.
True.
Yeah. Okay, so these are the other actors, well, it's unknown at the moment, but who do you think should play the Creature from the Black Lagoon, a.k.a. the Gill Man?
Oh, I don't know. I feel like Andy Serkis is pretty much anything
motion capture
in terms of motion capture, so he would be one of the first go-tos, I think. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. I think he could do it, but other people I think could do it too. So, but Andy Serkis is the first one that comes to mind for me.
Yeah, wouldn't it be cool if it was kind of like Killer Croc's character in the Batman Arkham games, where he's just like really big. In fact, I can kind of see it being based off of how in ancient Egyptian hieroglyphics, when we see like crocodiles, alligators, whatever they're called, they were a lot bigger in the past than they are now.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
Yeah, actually, come to think of it, mentioning Andy Serkis, I'm picturing him as Ulysses Claw in the new Black Panther movie.
Mm-hmm.
And come to think of it, he's kind of got some of the physical features I'm talking about that are missing about Bradley Cooper. For the Wolfman, so
I can see where you're coming from.
He might be decent for that too, but I mean, obviously he's more known for his motion capture roles. So
yeah, true. All right, so finally, is that who should play Dracula? And also, we're kind of discussing about Luke Evans was supposed to be the Dracula for the Dark Universe, but I guess it's not happening. But in a recent interview, he did say that he would like to be Dracula again if they want him to be in the Dark Universe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know if he was an interesting choice for Dracula. He definitely isn't Boris Karloff or
Bela Lugosi.
Excuse me. Gosh, I need a beating with the lunacy.
It's okay. I'll just correct you with words.
Yeah, but Bela Lugosi, he is certainly not Bela Lugosi's Dracula by any means, but he did a decent job in Dracula Untold, and so I'd be willing to see him again.
Yeah, I get you. I feel like the problem with Luke Evans' Dracula is that I feel like when he was in kind of low voice, it was kind of like whispery and kind of whimsical or whatever. Just in my opinion about it. But yeah, I did like Dracula until I would like for it to happen. But if there was an actor to replace him that would be on par with the other actors who would want to stand out, because Dracula is one of the big ones, I think it would be an awesome choice would be Michael Fassbender, because he's tall, he's a well-known actor, he's a really good actor, and also he's kind of handsome, but he has this bit of a dark side and being intimidating.
Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, I was just wondering if you had another choice for it.
Not particularly.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this is part 2. I like to call Catfight.
Wow.
Yeah. So Steven and I are going to debate who is the hottest actress, or at least the most attractive one, of the Universal monster movies, at least of the recent ones. I decided to keep it recent because this is where Steven would be more familiar with these actresses. Before I begin, I feel like there's a few honorary mentions, such as Jane Addams from House of Dracula. She played the Hunchback assistant. It was pretty interesting. I mean, you had an attractive actress play a disfigured person, which was pretty new for its time. And of course, Julie Addams from Creature from the Black Lagoon. And that, but what are your thoughts, Steven?
Yeah, especially the girl from, Julie Addams. She bad. She bad.
Yeah, she's still alive now. Yeah. I wish I would have been able to write to like Jane Addams when she was still alive. She died 3 years ago.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah. All right, so basically here how it's going to work. Steve and I are going to pick on, well, not in a bullying way.
Yeah.
Let me rephrase that.
Hashtag me too.
No. No Harvey Weinstein here, okay? Okay, so let's rewind it back. Let's do another take on that. All right, so basically, here's how it's going to work. I picked 8 actresses for us to debate on who's the most attractive of them. It's kind of like a tournament style of 8.
Yep.
And if there's a tie, I've got an app on my phone, which I'll flip a coin, and we'll decide who wins.
Sure.
So we have Rachel Weisz as Evie from The Mummy and The Mummy Returns. We have Patricia Velasquez from The Mummy and The Mummy Returns as Anoxina Moon. We also have Kate Beckinsale from Van Helsing. Obviously, half the actresses on this list are from Van Helsing, so it's definitely not a sausage fest.
For a cat fight, how could it be a sausage fest?
No, I mean that movie Van Helsing wasn't a sausage fest.
Right.
Yeah. So we have Josie Martin as one of Dracula's brides from Van Helsing. And the 2 other actresses who played Dracula's brides in Van Helsing, we had Sylvia Colica and Elena Anya. We have Emily Blunt from the remake of The Wolfman, and Sarah Gadon from Dracula Untold. And some of you guys are wondering, like, oh, where's Sophia Botella or Anna, what's her name, from the Mummy remake? I think they're just pretty average, and yeah, there's not much of a chance I was going to put Mara Bello from the Mummy, Tomb of the Dragon Emperor on this list. Okay. Alright, so first we're going to go with Rachel Weisz versus Patricia Velasquez. I'll go first and say Rachel Weisz without a doubt. I mean, Patricia Velasquez has a decent body, I gotta say. I mean, a lot of that was just, body makeup.
Right.
And that, but yeah, I consider herself to be like I realize that now that she was probably much a childhood crush of mine. And definitely like her a lot, and Daniel Craig is the one lucky man.
Definitely.
So I gotta say Rachel Weisz has got my vote. In fact, she probably has my vote for all of them. Just a bit of a spoiler there, but okay. How about you, Steven?
Yeah, I definitely have to go Rachel Weisz. She is super, super cute. Yeah, I mean, that's...
Okay, I thought you were going to make it interesting, go with Patricia Velasquez, but...
No, not particularly. Maybe in some other categories.
If she was paired up with another actress, okay.
Right.
Okay, so Kate Beckinsale versus Josie Martin. To be honest, I'm not that particularly have much of the hots for Kate Beckinsale like a lot of other guys do. So I'm just going to have to kind of side with Josie Martin. I feel like she's more attractive. In fact, she was in the music video for the Backstreet Boys one for the Everybody in that one. Which CinemaSins pointed out, at least she was a model in that.
I got you.
Okay.
Yeah, they're both super hot, so this is hard, but I do have to give a slight edge to Kate Beckinsale. I mean,
okay, we're going to have to break this tie here, folks. Okay, heads for Kate Beckinsale and tails for Josie Martin. Okay, Josie Martin gets it.
All right.
All right. Okay, now we got Sylvia Colica versus Elena Anya. I mean, Sylvia Colica is interesting. I mean, when it came to the Three Brides of Dracula, you could tell that she was kind of like the leader. And she was pretty much probably the first bride Dracula had. But I gotta definitely say Elena Anya without a doubt. And it's hard to believe that was Dr. Poison from Wonder Woman.
That is hard to believe.
Yeah, honestly, I think she's more attractive than the actress who played Wonder Woman in that movie. But I know you'll strongly disagree with me, Steven.
I'm definitely going to give a 110% disagreement to that.
Yeah, you're going to tell that to your poster of Wonder Woman tonight, I guess.
She booed. She booed. You my gal. You my gal.
Okay. So I'm going to have to say Elena Anya, but how about you, Steven?
I'm going to say the opposite. I really think Sylvia is a bit cuter.
Okay. Why is that?
I think part of it just has to do with facial structure and the hair color for me.
Okay.
I know you're super into redheads.
Yep.
And redheads, they're kind of middle ground for me. I prefer a strong blonde or a strong brunette to a redhead typically. So.
Okay. I mean, we're going to do the flip coin, but on one final note, I want to say that for me, she had a better face and better body as well. Okay, just want to slip that in real quick. All right, so here it is. Heads for Sylvia Colica and tails for Elena Anya. All right, Sylvia Colica gets it.
Guess so.
Sorry, Elena Anya, you still bay, or whatever, as Stephen would say. Okay, Emily Blunt versus Sarah Gadon. Now, if you had to ask me this back in high school, I'd probably say Emily Blunt. But honestly, I kind of prefer Sarah Gadon because, I don't know, I feel like she has a kind of a better face, and I feel like she is more attractive with her voice and that sort of deal. And I don't know, Emily Blunt has kind of seems more kind of basic in recent years and just kind of
I got you. Well, again, I'm going to have to disagree with you. I actually prefer Emily Blunt overall, and especially in the context of the films. Like, I think Emily Blunt was more beautiful to me, at least, than I'm actually forgetting the name of the other woman already.
Oh, Sarah Gadon?
Yeah, Sarah Gadon.
From Dracula Untold.
But, yeah, I definitely prefer Emily Blunt overall.
Okay, more twists and turns here, folks. Yep. Okay, we're going to have the coin break this tie. Heads for Emily Blunt and tails for Sarah Gadon. Oh, hey, Emily Blunt. Okay, so now we got the semifinal round. We have Rachel Weisz from The Mummy and The Mummy Returns versus Josie Martin from Van Helsing. I gotta say again, Rachel Weisz, no doubt.
Oh, that's actually hard for me. Yeah, if I had to make a top four personally, I would say it would be, Evie from The Mummy.
And Kate Beckinsale from Van Helsing.
Kate Beckinsale.
Josie Martin.
And
Emily Blunt.
And Emily Blunt. Those are probably the four that I would choose to narrow it down from, but I have to give gosh, no. No, this is just
under review, folks.
Ooh. Gosh, this is difficult. I guess I have to give. Oh no,
countdown here.
Yeah. Okay, I'll say Josie Martin.
Okay, we have to flip a coin, folks.
I tend to go a little more for the blondes than the brunettes. But
for me, I'm the opposite, but...
Gotcha.
Okay, heads for Rachel Weisz and tails for Josie Martin. All right, Rachel Weisz wins it.
Gotcha.
Okay, now it's Sylvia Colica versus Emily Blunt. I gotta say Emily Blunt. Just not much of a debate here.
Mhm.
That's just my opinion, but how about you, Steven?
Yeah, overall I'm the same. Based on the pictures that we're looking at right now, maybe Emily Blunt could be in a little more of a flattering picture, but yeah, I mean Emily Blunt I would say is definitely Shibu number 2.
Okay, so now we got the final round, Rachel Weisz versus Emily Blunt. Without doubt, again, guys, Rachel Weisz, definitely. Although if I had to get a second pick, I would say Elena Anya.
Gotcha.
How about you, Steven?
I would say again Rachel Weisz probably. Rachel Weisz is out of those two probably the preferred for me.
And they're both British, too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right, so the winner is Rachel Weisz from The Mummy and The Mummy Returns.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, definitely awesome.
Your boopay.
Yeah. All right. So right now we're going to have a little bit of an intermission here, folks, before we do our whole game show kind of thing. I'll be the host and Steven will be the contestant.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll be right back. All right, so welcome back. So now we do our bit of our game show here now. Basically, Steven's going to compete for it, and for every 1,000 points he achieves, he gets the chance to get a piece of candy.
Watch me fail miserably.
But don't worry, a lot of this stuff is true, false, multiple choice, and that.
I will be shocked for everyone I get wrong, so help. Nuts.
Yeah, this ain't Who Wants to Be a Millionaire can call somebody.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
Although I do have my phone here, you know.
No, you don't have that option here.
I know.
All right, so we're going to do true or false. It's pretty basic. I like this photo here. I have them on a shirt of mine. Yeah. All right, so for 100 points. Now, when it came to adapting Dracula to the big screen, Bela Lugosi is iconic. Well, his portrayal of Dracula is the most iconic of them. So for 100 points, true or false? Bela Lugosi was the last actor that Universal Studios wanted to play Dracula.
I'm not completely certain on that one, but something in my gut is telling me that's true.
And the answer is true.
All right. Good job, gut.
Yeah. The reason why was that they wanted an established Hollywood actor to play Dracula, but he wasn't. He was more of a stage actor, so he got the part only because he got like a pay cut. Yeah, so people would complain about, pay gap or whatever, but, what about him? Like, we'll just be silent about that.
But he's a cis white male.
All right, so for 300 points, now The Wolfman, of course, is a very iconic Universal monster movie. However, for 300 points, true or false, The Wolfman was the first movie, at least werewolf movie, by Universal Studios.
I don't know that, but I feel false.
The answer is false, correct. You got it right.
Look at me go.
Technically, the first werewolf movie ever created was Werewolf of London from the 1930s. And it was fine, I guess. It was based off the book Werewolf of Paris, but they changed it to London to appeal more to an English-speaking audience.
Gotcha.
And that. The movie was fine, I guess, financially and critically, but not enough to justify a sequel, and they decided to go in a different route in that.
Sure.
Yeah. All right, so when it came to on-screen pairings, when it came to these two actors, we had Lon Chaney Jr. and Evelyn Ankers. I don't know if exactly that's how you pronounce her name or whatever. All right, so for 500 points, true or false? During the making of The Wolfman, Lon Chaney Jr. and Evelyn Ankers got along on set.
I'm gonna say true.
The answer is false. Not maybe not that loud, maybe give people ear rape or whatever, but according to an interview with her, she said that Lon Chaney Jr. was the sweetest guy ever when he was sober, because he was notorious for being an alcoholic.
Okay.
And he would roughhouse with people, and sometimes she would call him Ghastly Ghoul, and sometimes get back at her. Sometimes in his full Wolfman makeup and costume, he would sneak up on her and scare the bejesus out of her, which is great.
Yep.
All right, so next category for I did not.
I did not. Oh, hi, Mark.
Yeah, I knew that was coming,
Yep.
This photo right here is Jack Pierce. Of course, he's an awesome makeup artist at Universal Studios.
Yes.
He did a lot of the makeup stuff, and this is Lon Chaney Jr. as one of his other roles as the mummy character from the 40s.
Mm-hmm.
It was said that he was such a notorious alcoholic that he actually insisted on a flask and a straw be built underneath his costume so he can sip on alcohol during filming.
That's crazy. Wow.
No wonder the mummy stumbled around. Yeah, you probably didn't know this, but Bela Lugosi was the first actor to publicly go to rehab because of his morphine addiction.
They tried to make me go to rehab, but I said no, no, no. And then I was forced to go.
I love the I want to make a funny joke like a Vine kind of video.
Mm-hmm.
Try to make me go to rehab. I said no, shows her gravestone. Darn.
Yeah, very good.
All right.
Spicy memes.
Yeah. All right. So basically this category is about all the movies that these characters were not in. At least these actors or directors were not in, even though they were involved in a lot of them. So here it is. Now, Stephen Sommers is the guy who's involved in a lot of Universal monster movies, but which of the following movies did he not direct? Was it The Mummy, The Mummy Returns, Van Helsing, or The Mummy, Tomb of the Dragon Emperor?
I'm pretty confident that this one was D.
The answer is correct. The Mummy, Tomb of the Dragon Emperor, he did not write and or direct this movie. You know, it's not a good sign when the guy who directed and wrote the first two Mummy movies said,
Bails.
yeah, I'd rather go direct G.I. Joe, The Rise of Cobra instead.
Yeah, that definitely wasn't a good sign.
Yeah, and the guy who directed this movie also directed the first Fast and Furious movie, the only one that wasn't the least cringy of them, I would say.
Gotcha.
Okay. So for 300 points, James Whale was a very talented director in Universal monster films and that sort of deal. The guy was gay, and I heard he was a bit of a pervert in the movie Gods and Monsters, which also starred Brendan Fraser, and also Ian McKellen in the film. A gay guy playing another gay guy. What a shock. And this guy directed a lot of these monster films and such, and he's best known for that. However, for 300 points, what movie did James Whale not direct? Was it Frankenstein, The Mummy, The Invisible Man, or Bride of Frankenstein?
Ooh, gosh. I honestly am completely in the dark on this one. So I would have to go... I'm going to go Invisible Man.
The answer is The Mummy.
Oh.
He did direct The Bride of Frankenstein and The Invisible Man. I mean, he has kind of like that camp humor look to his movies, but he did not direct The Invisible Man. The guy who did the cinematography on Dracula directed this movie.
Gotcha.
Alright, so for 500 points, now, Universal Studios typically recycle their actors because they had a contract for doing X movies, and usually they would be typecast, like the actor who played Renfield in Dracula was typecast a lot, but he was awesome in that movie.
Right.
And Edward Van Sloan was definitely not an exception. He would usually play smart people or intellectuals of some kind. What movie did Edward Van Sloan not star in for 500 points? Was it Dracula, Frankenstein, The Mummy, or The Invisible Man?
Gosh, again, this is one that I really don't have a clue, so...
You have a 25% chance.
Yeah, shooting in the dark here. Well, clearly based on the picture, I want to say that's either The Invisible Man or Frankenstein that's in the background there. With the human parts. So I want to say Dracula?
It's The Invisible Man.
Rip.
Remember he played Dr. Van Helsing in Dracula?
No, I honestly didn't.
Yeah, he was in that one. He also was the past mentor of Dr. Frankenstein, and he was an archaeologist in The Mummy. But he was not in The Invisible Man. Alright, so for multiple choice, volume 1, this is where it gets a little bit easier, less gimmicky in that. So let's power through. Alright, so Kevin J. O'Connor, of course, did a good job of playing the character of Igor in Van Helsing, which is a combination of other Hunchback assistants and also Bela Lugosi's character as Igor in some of the other Frankenstein movies. So for 100 points, what character did Kevin J. O'Connor play in the 1999 remake of The Mummy?
Gosh, I'm drawing a blank on some of the characters here, but I want to say, was it Rick? Rick O'Connell?
Let me rephrase the. Well, actually, let me ask the. Thanks, forgot to ask him.
Mhm.
Was it Rick O'Connell, Jonathan, Benny, or Ardith Bay?
Um, mm, I would still go with Rick O'Connell.
That was Brendan Fraser's character.
Was it?
Yeah, Rick O'Connell.
Gosh, I just don't remember
answer
the
is
names very
Benny.
well from that movie. Okay,
The answer
that was
is
my
Benny.
second guess.
Yeah, I mean, he's
So-
pretty much the ultimate weasel character with the whole, like, showing the symbols and showing how he's pretty much the creator of the coexist bumper sticker.
Right. Yep, I remember that.
Yeah, I just love that part. And I like how his clever writing when he showed the Star of David and started speaking Hebrew,
Mhm.
that he recognized that, like, oh, the language of the slaves, and, I probably have use for you.
Right, that
And
was
that-
interesting.
Yeah, which I thought was kind of cool, and that, like, that was really scary and effective. And some people were saying that in that moment, that actor reacted to a CGI character that wasn't there than the actors in the Star Wars prequels.
True. Very true.
Yeah, I guess that's to do with the directing and such.
Mhm.
All right, so Universal Studios, although Marvel made cinematic universe movies popular, Universal Studios was the first studio to ever do cinematic universe / crossover movies in the 40s. So, for 300 points, what was the first crossover / cinematic universe movie ever? Was it Frankenstein meets the Wolfman, House of Frankenstein, House of Dracula, or Abbott and Costello meet Frankenstein?
I think this one was Frankenstein meets the Wolfman.
Correct. Yeah, it was pretty much the first one.
Very cool.
Yeah, it was pretty interesting too. I mean, like how when one of them, Boris Karloff, plays a mad scientist trying to resurrect the Frankenstein monster.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, what's cool about the movie Van Helsing was that the Frankenstein monster using the MacGuffin was a reference to the other crossover movies like this one, because the Frankenstein monster was like the MacGuffin and the plot device pretty much.
Sure.
Alright, so although he also played the Mummy, Boris Karloff's most iconic performance was playing the Frankenstein monster. So for 500 points, how many times did Boris Karloff play the Frankenstein monster? Was it once, twice, 3 times, 4 times? Who knows?
Oh gosh. It was definitely at least twice. But I want to say it's probably 3 or 4 times at least. I'm gonna go 3. See what happens.
You are correct. He played him 3 times.
All right.
Alright, so pretty much he played him in Frankenstein, Bride of Frankenstein, and Son of Frankenstein. However, he dropped out after the third one because they felt like the studio was just doing it out of hunger, aka, greed, not because they could do anything good with the story.
Right.
It was just like, okay, we just want to make money, and that's it. So I respect him for doing that. And then the other actor who played him after that was Glenn Strange, who was a stuntman.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
So for Volume 2, for the multiple choice stuff here, Steven.
Yep.
Alright, so for 100 points. Now, of course, the big 3 of the Universal Monster characters is Bela Lugosi as Dracula, Boris Karloff as the Frankenstein monster, and Lon Chaney Jr. as the Wolfman. Kind of like the big 3 in DC Comics is like Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman.
Yep.
But one of these actors played all 3 of these iconic monsters. So for 100 points, who played Dracula, the Frankenstein monster, and the Wolfman? Was it Bela Lugosi, Boris Karloff, or Lon Chaney Jr.?
I want to say Boris Karloff.
The answer is Lon Chaney Jr.
Okay.
Although Bela Lugosi did play the Frankenstein monster in Frankenstein Meets the Wolfman, in fact, that's where the whole iconic thing of the Frankenstein monster moving his arms out because he gets blinded in the previous movie.
Mm-hmm.
So he played the Wolfman, of course, and he played the Frankenstein monster in Ghost of Frankenstein, and he played Dracula, or Dracula's son, they never really explain it, in Son of Dracula, which I would say is his weakest of the monsters he's played.
Gotcha.
But yeah, it's pretty interesting in a way. Kind of like his dad, Man of a Thousand Faces.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Alright, so the Universal Monster movies, at least of the old time period and that sort of thing, did not have any shortage of talented and beautiful actresses. However, one of them would become famous much later in her lifetime for playing Old Rose in Titanic. So for 300 points, what Universal monster actress played Old Rose in Titanic? Was it Helen Chandler from Dracula, Zeta Johann from The Mummy, or Gloria Stewart in The Invisible Man?
I want to go with Helen Chandler on this one.
The answer is Gloria Stewart.
Rip.
Which is pretty interesting in that. Yeah, some of these actresses had tragic backstories, like Helen Chandler. At one point, she fell asleep smoking in the 40s, and she badly burnt herself. And then an actress from Phantom of the Opera, like in the singing, movie, in the one from like the 40s and that, she sadly went through a not so good divorce, and at one point she was living in her car much later in her life. At some point. Yeah, just looking at some of the backstories on like Wikipedia for these actresses, it's like you can easily play the song Cleopatra by Lumineers. It would just perfectly fit, I would say. But yeah, so anyway, for 500 points. Now, the Universal monster movies, of course, had no shortage of accidents like other movies have. So, for 500 points, what was the accident on the set of The Creature from the Black Lagoon? Was it the actress fell overboard, the creature bumped the actress's head on the side of a wall, or the actress had a wardrobe malfunction?
None of these are striking a bell with me. I swear I've heard this one at some point. I want to say there was a... I was going to say there was a wardrobe malfunction, but I'm not so sure that the overboard is feeling right to me. So I'll go for the actress fell overboard. That may be wrong, but...
The answer is the actress' head got bumped on the side of the wall from the Gillman. What happened was he was carrying her, and it was kind of hard to see in the costume. He turned too soon, accidentally bumped her head on the wall. The director yelled, "Cut!" It was just a minor wound, but it's funny to have that nurse on standby. They have a picture of that. I mean, that's not like one of the craziest accidents on a set of a movie of theirs, because in the original Wolfman, there was a part where Larry Talbot was supposed to wrestle a bear to display his increased strength. And this is kind of referenced in the remake of the Wolfman with the bear. And there's a part in the movie, at least during the making of it, where the bear got loose, chased the actress, Evelyn Eckerson, across the set. She was saved by a guy on the catwalk until, some guy came, like an animal wrangler came to, get control of the bear.
Oh, man, that would be terrifying.
That'd be great to get that in video.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so now for the semi-final round. I love this image of the werewolf character from Van Helsing.
You!
Yeah, there's a lot of great you moments in that movie.
Yep.
So, the semi-final round. Basically, each of these questions are worth 1,000 points.
Okay.
However, there is a catch. If you don't answer any of these questions within 10 seconds, you will lose 1,000 points if you have 1,000 points to spare. But if you get it right, you get 1,000 points. But let's say if you get the answer wrong, you won't get any points taken away. So, here it is. Okay, there's 4 of them. So, for 1,000 points. Now, when Richard Roxburgh was offered the role of Dracula in Van Helsing, he was like, I'm not so sure about it. But then Stephen Sommers convinced him by saying that you're going to have 3 hotties with you. One of them's from California, one's from Italy, and one's from Spain. Ironically, one of the actresses who played one of the brides in the movie, they fell in love, and they eventually got married. So for 1,000 points, what actress that played one of Dracula's brides in Van Helsing married the actor Richard Roxburgh, who played Dracula? Was it Josie Martin, Sylvia Colica, or Elena Anya?
I want to go Elena Anya on this one.
The answer is Sylvia Colica. The one you thought that was the most attractive one?
Yeah.
When they first met, she said that, "Hi, I am your Italian bride." Foreshadowing much?
That is. That's funny.
That's great. Yeah, it's great. I follow her on Instagram. She does like these cooking stuff, and it's pretty interesting. She's really nice. At least, personality.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, so for another 1,000 points. Now, when it comes to the Universal monster movies, when it comes to, I guess, the the watchability of them is that a lot of them don't have the rating system because they were created before that was in effect.
Mm-hmm.
But the majority of them since then were rated PG-13. However, what is the first and only Universal monster movie to be rated R?
Oh, you're not going to give a list. I thought it was The Mummy. Is that correct?
The answer is the Wolfman remake from 2010. I thought that'd be obvious.
No,
We just watched that movie.
I thought you were talking about like classical ones. That was kind of a trick
No,
question.
I mean all of them. I mean like recent ones.
No, that was kind of sneaky because
No,
you had
no, it
all
wasn't.
the pictures of the classic ones.
Well, it's just
that
a
was
random.
totally
Well,
sneaky.
that was a random image. That wasn't sneaky.
That was totally sneaky.
No, it wasn't.
That was completely sneaky. The
But-
comments will back me up on that, but
I don't know about that. I said rated R. I don't know if any mummy movies rated R. But okay. But yeah, I mean, it was the first and only time it got rated R. But I thought this would be an easy one for you because we just watched this movie.
yeah, no, it wasn't because of the context of the picture, but
Whatever. Okay. All right, a little bit of drama here, folks. But next question. Okay. Now, when it comes to the classic movies from at least Universal monster movies from the 20s to the 50s have a very iconic look to them because they're in black and white.
Mm-hmm.
However, there was one that was in color. So for 1,000 points, which of the classic Universal monster movies made between the 20s and the 50s is the only one that is in color?
was that the Bride of Frankenstein?
The answer is Phantom of the Opera from 1943.
Okay.
I mean, it sticks out like a sore thumb, and I wish it was in black and white. In fact, when Universal Studios had their like trailer for these classical characters, they kind of re-edited it to be in black and white.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
See, I honestly, in the context of that, forgot that was even part of the list anymore. So.
Okay, I mean, I did kind of point it out in the photo stuff of the history of them.
Yeah, but that was a while ago. I don't know.
Okay. All right, so for another 1,000 points. Now, the thing is about the Universal Monsters is that they definitely have sold a lot of merchandise. However, which of the following Universal Monster characters has sold the most merchandise? I'll give you a hint. It's one of the characters in this photo.
I think that's pretty clearly going to be Dracula.
The answer is the Gill Man.
What?
Yeah, I'm surprised too. I mean, Dracula merchandise has sold more than the Frankenstein monster, even though the Frankenstein monster is like the mascot of them.
Right.
But the Gill Man has sold the most merchandise.
That's remarkable.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting in that. Okay. All right, so for double or nothing.
Oh, boy.
Pretty much, it's kind of like Price is Right in a way.
Yep.
We have to guess, a certain thing about it.
Mm-hmm.
So pretty much, I created an app for this, wheel spinner thing.
Mm-hmm.
Originally, the remake of The Mummy from 1999 was supposed to be a low-budget movie. However, when Stephen Sommers got involved in the project, the movie became a big-budget movie.
Mm-hmm.
So for 1,000 for double points, what was the production budget to the remake of The Mummy from 1999? I'll let this wheel thing go first, and I'll compete against it. Now, I'll give you a hint. It cost more than $10 million to make, but less than $200 million.
I'm going to go 150...
You're supposed to let this thing move first.
Oh, okay.
$80 million.
Okay. That's its guess?
Yeah. What's your guess?
My guess is 130 million.
I'm sorry, Steven.
It was closer?
No, this thing was dead on right. $80 million.
Oh, jeez.
That's when I saw him like, I already got in trouble for being accused for being sneaky here.
Oh, no, that's fine. It just chanced it, so that's
yeah. I mean, it
understandable.
was like a 5% chance here, folks.
Yeah.
There's like 20 options here. Maybe I'll do a screen capture of it and show you guys.
That's crazy. I'm just used to a lot of movies costing easily over $100 million. So,
well,
that
this is like the 90s.
Still, yeah. I mean, there are quite a few that.
I mean, Van
hit that
Helsing was the
ballpark.
most expensive of them at $160 million.
Hmm.
Okay, so anyway, this is Tyler from End Critter Reviews.
And Steven from Steven Lawson Studios.
Yes, and Steven achieved the points of of 1,300 points, but just to make up for it, I'm just going to give you 2,000 points.
Oh, don't worry about it.
Well, it's going to be 2,000 points for you. So pretty much that's what it is and that sort of thing. I'll let you guys keep track of the score in that. I'm not going to post it or whatever. I'm not going to put that much, time and effort to it because I got other video projects and other NIU stuff to get to.
Right.
All right, so this is Tyler from End Credit Reviews.
And Stephen from Stephen Lawson Studios.
Yes, we hope you enjoyed this episode, this whole game show thing. Maybe I'll do something similar like this for next Halloween time.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe on the Halloween franchise, we'll do something like that.
Yeah, that'd be a good idea.
Yeah, this was cool. I love these Universal monster movies. I've loved them since I was a kid. I love watching them around Halloween time.
Mm-hmm.
I felt like it was kind of interesting trivia. We talked about it. We had our own discussion thing, and you got to know a little bit more about trivia about them. And I think that's awesome. You watched Dracula and Frankenstein recently.
Definitely.
Yeah, I recommend either watching The Wolfman or Bride of Frankenstein or The Invisible Man next.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So anyway, we hope you enjoyed this episode, and we hope to make more in the future. Please like and subscribe.